Hello everyone, welcome to lesson 20.1C. I've entitled this video, Resources of East Africa. This video is going to cover pages 616 to 617. Resources of East Africa. The natural resources of a region are closely linked to its economy and people's way of life. Settlement patterns in a geographical area have often been shaped by that area's natural resources. Important resources in East Africa are minerals, energy sources, landscapes, and wildlife. The ability of some countries to exploit these resources, however, has been hampered by political issues. Question number 1. How can the natural resources of a region impact the people that live there? Well, it is closely linked to their economy and their way of life. So in other words, whatever you have in your environment as far as resources, that's going to drive along a lot of the times how you make your money, your economy, and how you live. Mineral resources. Mineral resources in East Africa include small gold deposits along the rifts in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, gemstones like sapphires and diamonds in Tanzania, and tin in Rwanda. Ethiopia and Uganda produce lumber. Lake Assal in Djibouti, and this is pictured in the bottom left there, located about 500 feet below sea level, is the world's largest salt reserve, with more than 1 billion tons of salt. This lake is located at the lowest point in Africa. Question number 2. What valuable resource is found in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania? Gold. Question number 3. What valuable gemstones are found in Tanzania? Sapphires and diamonds. Question number 4. What valuable resource can be found in Rwanda? Tin. Question 5. What valuable resource does Ethiopia and Uganda produce? Lumber. Question number 6. What resource is produced from Lake Assal in Djibouti, which is the lowest point in Africa? Salt. You can see that salt being scooped up right there. Energy resources. Energy resources in East Africa include coal in Tanzania, as well as petroleum in Uganda, South Sudan, and northwestern Kenya. East Africa's energy potential has yet to be realized, though. For example, Sudan has the opportunity to develop hydroelectric power, or the production of electricity through the use of falling water. Hydroelectric power is already used in Kenya and Tanzania. And now we're ready for question 7. What energy resource is produced in Tanzania? Coal. Question 8. What energy resource is produced in Uganda, South Sudan, and Kenya? Petroleum. Question number 9. What is hydroelectric power? That is the production of electricity through the use of water. Likewise, Kenya and Djibouti are favorable locations for the development of geothermal energy. This type of energy comes from underground heat sources, such as hot springs and steam. In Kenya, an international group of companies is working with the government to develop geothermal energy sources. If they are successful, 30% of the country's energy needs could be met by geothermal energy by the year 2030. In East Africa, management of energy resources and energy use often has been inconsistent and uneven. Major cities gobble up much of the energy that is produced. Energy is often unavailable in rural areas. Question number 10. What is geothermal energy? This is the kind of energy that comes from underground heat sources like hot springs and steam. And you can see a picture of geothermal energy right here. Question number 11. How is the management of energy resources and energy inconsistent and uneven in East Africa? Well, it's kind of like income inequality. The places where the energy is gobbled up in a big way are in the major cities. And yet in some parts of the countries, where like the rural areas, they don't have energy at all. It's often unavailable. So you have not an even distribution of energy resources in East Africa. Land and wildlife. Besides mineral and energy resources, East Africa's land and wildlife are important assets. The soils in the region are not especially rich for agriculture, and farming is challenging. The breathtaking scenery of the Great Rift Valley, however, is an important tourist resource. And we're ready now for question number 12. How is the land in East Africa for agriculture? Now, it's very challenging. The soil is not especially rich for farming. They do farm, but it's not the greatest of soil for that. So then that leads to question 13. How is the land in East Africa used to generate income? They use it by selling tourist attractions, because they do have these amazing, breathtaking scenes of creatures and wildlife that people pay to come look at in like safaris. East Africa is also home to the greatest assemblage of wildlife in the world. Many national parks and wildlife sanctuaries are found in the region. Perhaps the most well-known wildlife reserves are located in Kenya and Tanzania. An outstanding example is the Serengeti Plain. This vast area, larger than the state of Connecticut, consists of tropical savanna grasslands. Two internationally famous national parks are located in East Africa: Serengeti National Park in Tanzania and the Masai Mara National Reserve in Kenya. And you see one picture on the right and one picture on the left. These parks harbor lions, leopards, cheetahs, giraffes, zebras, elephants, and dozens of species of antelope. Now we're ready for question number 14. What is East Africa home to? The greatest assembly or assemblage of wildlife in the world. Question 15. What is famous about the Serengeti Plain? Well, this is a large tropical savanna grassland region where they have tons of creatures that you can look at in the wild. Question number 16. What can be found in the Serengeti National Park and the Masai Mara National Reserve in Kenya? Well, you can see all kinds of creatures like lions, leopards, cheetahs, giraffes, zebras, elephants, and antelope. Every year, thousands of tourists pour in from all over the world to see the marvel of the Great Migration. In this mass movement, more than 1 million animals travel hundreds of miles in search of fresh, grazing land. The spectacular wildlife of East Africa makes an important contribution to the economy of the region. And you can see a couple of these examples of the Great Migration right here. And we're ready for question 17. Africa. That is the movement of more than 1 million animals going from one place to the next, spending a travel of over hundreds of miles just looking for places to graze. And question number 18. How does the Great Migration help the economy of East Africa? Well, people will pay to go see this. And so people from all over the world, we don't just have these sorts of things running wild in America. You have to go to a zoo. But here in Africa, you can see these things out in their natural habitat, in the wild, roaming the Great Plains of Africa. And you can pay for that in what's called ecotourism, which we'll get to in a later video. Well, thank you for watching. Before we go, I had to have a nice little meme here. On the safari, looking for lions. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.